Welcome to the Dirt Trail Running Podcast. My name is Michelle Hartwig, and I am your host. I am also a race director for many Midwest trail races like Kettle Moraine 100 and Hennepin 100, and we've got Frozen Gnome 50K coming up in January. And my co-host is Crystal the Pistol.
Hello, everybody. What's up? I'm cold, so I'm wearing my hoodie now.
Yeah, temperatures are dropping here for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And our guests tonight are Max and Emma McCormick. Did I say your last names correctly? I should have checked
Yep.
before the show.
Yep.
And so they're coming to us. And Max, you're in Idaho right now?
That's right. Yep.
And Emma, where are you at?
I'm in Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit, Michigan. Because you go to school in Michigan, or?
I used to, and then now I work for General Motors downtown,
Okay.
or from my living room at the moment, but in Michigan.
Yeah, so we have lots of really cool stuff to talk to. I mean, I don't even know where to start of what to talk about these guys. So one of the things that you guys have done is ran across Idaho, which I thought was really cool. But they're, ultra marathon finishers and like cyclists and lots of cool stuff. But maybe we should go ahead, let's start with a little bit of your guys' running backgrounds, if you don't mind. Does Emma want to
go
first?
Sure. Yeah, and then Max can fill in. So, I've been running since like second grade. My PE teacher in elementary school had a cross country program, and I used to hate running, but for some reason I kept doing it. And I think by the time I was a junior in high school, I actually started to like it. And then I've just always ran, did a marathon, did a 50K, did a 50 miler, and then this summer did 100 across the state of Idaho. And so that's an idea Max and I had. I don't know, when did we come up with that idea, Max?
Probably
like 2015.
Yeah, years ago.
And we should mention that you're both from Idaho, so that's your home state.
And we're siblings. And that's why our last name's the same.
Oh yeah, I yeah, I meant to say that because I asked Loretta before the show. I'm like, are they married or are they siblings?
Yes, siblings. I'm the big sister. Max is the little brother.
Yeah.
So Max, are you a runner? Like, what kind of athlete are you? I know you bike too, so
I wouldn't really identify as a runner, but like Emma, like I grew up running cross country, sort of took it seriously in high school, and I wasn't the fastest on the team, so I decided I'd just do something no one else did so I could be the best at it. So I got into like some marathoning and ran a lot in high school. And then since then, I've drifted from running, but a lot of my pals run. So I'll run an ultra or so a year since then. But I'm more into mountaineering than any other sport for sure.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's the only thing I train for. The rest I just do for fun.
That's really cool. I want to hear about mountaineering for sure. Maybe we should start with what that is and what you do for that.
I mostly like living here in Idaho, just climbing in the Cascades, climbing stuff like Rainier and Adams and Baker, Helens. There's loads of good climbs, super local. Yeah.
So do you go by yourself? Like, is this a multi-day trip? Do you go on trails? Like, I don't know how you do it at all.
Typically, like, and a lot of it's like roped glacial travel with like ice axes and crampons and whatnot. And then sometimes we ski off stuff and ski up stuff. And typically I go with like one of my partners, Cody, but occasionally I'll go do stuff solo. And yeah, I don't know. It's appealing. It's hard. It's fun. It's impressive views that most people never get to see.
Yeah,
it's a good sport.
It's not like, because I've been to Mount Rainier, so it's not the trails I was on at Mount Rainier of where you get to see.
Yeah. I mean, the view from the top is pretty special.
How long does it take to get up there?
Depends on how fast you go. If you hustle, that's like lately we've gotten really hooked on just like fast and light. Like that's always the motto. So trying to do everything in fast single day pushes, and yeah. So Rainier, we've done it in 2 days so far. This year we tried to do it in a day, and we were crushing our time goals and like on track to do it in under 24 hours, truck to truck. And then weather blew in, and we had some mishaps and didn't end up finishing the full summit. And then stuff like Hood, I climbed Hood like my fastest time yet solo this spring, and that took me truck to truck like 3.5 hours.
Wow.
Which is like, and so I don't really run a lot, but like on that, like I ran a lot of, like I was running probably half of it. It's not really a run, but faster you go, better it is.
And then the next day, didn't you do a training run for our run?
Yeah, that trip actually was, I would say, the only time I felt like I was training. But I would, it was a month before we did the Panhandle run, and I put together this little trip to test my fitness. So I went out and I climbed Mount Hood from like the Timberline side as fast as I could, and I got that, and then I just hung out for the rest of the day. And then the next day I woke up and I ran what's called the Timberline Trail, which is a big loop trail around the base of Mount Hood. It's like, I think 42-mile trail with like 10K of vert and a fair amount of sand and a bunch of creek crossings, and super pretty. And so I felt good on that and wasn't sore or tired at all at the end of it. So I was like, I can probably run across Idaho, but perhaps I should have trained.
Well, 42 miles. That's really great with all 10K of vert. That's super impressive. How far did you do it before your guys' run?
It was a month or so. I think it was exactly a month in advance.
So let's get back to the run. I wouldn't mind hearing more about well, actually, I got one more question about the mountaineering before we move on. So, like, we're in the Midwest. We tend to have a pretty strong Midwest following on the podcast, but everybody here, just loves mountains and, going to, we like to explore every place. Do you have any advice for somebody that maybe wanted to go out there? You grew up there, so you grew up around mountains and know how to do it. What advice would you give somebody interested in learning how to do that?
There's like, it's not a huge barrier to entry. Like, there's some costs associated, but like, I think the biggest thing is like find somebody with like a little bit of experience and like can mentor you a bit, or like consider getting a guide. And I don't know, everyone has a different path into it, but it is good. It's like any climbing, like it's not high risk, but it is high consequence. So like, you shouldn't be making mistakes, and it's not that hard to avoid making mistakes. But if you do, they're serious. So you got to respect like the mountains, which is pretty cliche, but it's pretty true. And then the deeper you get into it, the risk and consequence continues to climb. So start easy and start safe, and probably start with someone who knows more than you.
So a guide probably is a really good idea. Somebody has.
That's what most people do, and I think there's probably a reason for that. Yeah. That's not how I did it. Me and two buddies just went and climbed Rainier as our first experience. It worked out for us, but I would not recommend that to anybody. Yeah.
So Emma and Max, like, you also decide you're going to run across Idaho. So like, how did that all come about? Like, how did you choose your route? Did you have a reason that you were doing it? Like, we're curious on that whole plan.
Yeah. So I think this was at least 4 or 5 years in the making, at least how we've been Max read some guy's blog who had ran across Idaho in 2010, and I think yeah, I don't think we started thinking about this till 2015 or 16. And at that point, I think maybe Max had done 55 miles, that Seven Summits run you did.
Yeah.
I think the farthest I had gone at that point was a marathon. So it's kind of like, wouldn't that be cool?
It's definitely a pipe
But
dream. And the most
yeah, like,
compelling
but
thing
could
is,
we actually?
yeah, Idaho's a really long state north to south. Like, that would be not a good run. But the Panhandle is actually pretty short. So we thought it'd be funny to say we ran across the state as
Well,
soon as we saw it was
yeah, but-
doable in a day.
Pretty short is not really that short to a lot of people. How long is it?
Well, the
Well-
route we did was 93 miles or 94. And then I was like, if I'm going to run 94 miles, I might as well do 100. So the last 6 were out and back in Washington. And the route we picked, we followed what this guy's blog did. There's a rails to trails path. It's actually a paved bike path that starts pretty close to the Montana border and goes almost all the way to Washington. So 73 miles of our route were all on that trail. And then the very beginning, very end were other little segments we attached so that we could get from state line to state line.
And what's the name of the trail?
It's called the
Trail
Trail
of
of the
the
Coeur
Coeur
d'Alenes.
And did you guys blog about it? Is there a place that people can come and read about what you guys did?
We didn't. No.
Well, they could come and watch this podcast. So
Yeah.
But just in case somebody was going to research, I thought that might, because you guys got your research from a blog.
Mm-hmm.
How else did you plan it? Did you guys like have crew? Did you just like put on a big huge backpack? Like how, what was your plan for the day?
We did minimal planning, I would say.
Yeah, we didn't plan it. It
We-
just came together.
It actually, we picked this year to do it because I think both Max and I have had other goals in other years. But this year is like, I had the time to train. Max chose not to train. But this was a good year. And then it actually worked out perfect because so many races were canceled. We didn't have to worry about that since this was never a race. It was just a run that the two of us were going to do together. So we set a date. We did it on September 1st. So we picked the date, and then besides just running, I think maybe 2 days before the race, we really like finally coordinated
Yeah, that was it.
exactly what was going to happen.
And we both had friends who came out and helped us out, and our folks helped us out with some crewing. So we had friends pace us and like hang out with us and run with us, pass the time. And then I think there maybe 4 spots we met up with our parents in a car and had a bunch of food available to us. And it was really easy. Like, it's all on this bike path. There's a ton of points to access the trail. So it was very low key crewing. Like, it didn't take hiking in places or anything. But we didn't skimp out on having resources available. We had a
Yeah,
lot of food and water.
I think our first resupply was at 30 miles.
Well, that's pretty
no.
far to go
was it?
without crew, without any aid.
Yeah, so we had like our little running backpack with water and enough food. Max does gels. I like to avoid refined sugar, so I ate real food like sweet potatoes, rice, potato chips, peanut butter jelly sandwiches, dates. And yeah, I think one of Max's friends, Aaron, dropped us off at the beginning and ran 4 miles with us.
And then 4 miles super uphill to get back to his car.
Yeah.
Oh, so the
And
first 4 miles were downhill?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
other
then
than
from
that,
then
it was
on,
pretty-
it was like totally flat forever. Just
Yeah.
flat pavement. Very, very repetitive.
Did you
But the
find that
scenery
hard?
changed.
I did. That was my undoing for sure. Because I don't run much. Like, at most, I run maybe like once a week. but I do like hike with a heavy pack all the time and like spend a lot of time skiing and mountain biking, and like I just ruck a lot in the hills. So I'm pretty good at going uphill, and I feel like I'm pretty good on trails, but I almost never run or walk far on flat pavement. So my body was not very used to that. I was like 30 miles in. I felt worse than I did after that whole little weekend on Mount Hood, climbing and running around it, which objectively should have been harder, but just just 30 miles on flat pavement definitely beat me up pretty quick. Not my style.
What about you, Emma? How was it for you?
I was prepared for the pavement, and in Michigan, it's so flat. So all my training runs were pretty much flat pavement. So it was exactly what I had trained for. I think if we did it again, I would definitely I would like to find a different route that was on trails, because I think that'd be interesting. But the path that we were on, at least like it went in interesting places. So we got to see different things, but
yeah, what were the views like along the path?
Yeah, like we followed the Coeur d'Alene River, right, Max? It was Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah.
Coeur d'Alene River for miles.
Is there mountains on the side?
Yeah.
It's a pretty nice trail.
Saw some moose as it was getting dark. That was exciting. But
were you worried about seeing wild animals while you were out there?
Not really. I wasn't excited to see moose. I think the scariest was actually a skunk. I was like, if that sprays me, I don't know if I'll be able to finish.
Well, Charles, your professor from school, was just on, and he said the only animal that's ever chased him in the wild is a skunk. So that's so funny that you were most scared of a skunk.
That is funny.
Yeah. So he's probably watching right now. So he. So you made it 30 miles, and then Max, did you keep going? You said you felt completely beat up at that point.
And that's like, I was feeling like I still felt like I could pull it off, but it was a surprising, like, oh, I'm not doing good. Like typically I can run 30 miles without feeling bad at all, but all that flat pavement, I was really getting hammered. And so I went from like Lookout past the Montana border to Harrison, which was like 72 or 73 miles. And at that point, I was really hobbling along, and like the pace I was holding was not very, it just wasn't very realistic to manage to make it to the finish with how slow I was going. And I probably wasn't going to end up getting any faster after that point. So that's where I dropped out. And I think at around mile 50, Emma and I separated, because I was like, you trained hard for this and you're crushing it. I'm just out here messing around and I'm going slow. Like, you should definitely take off and finish fast instead of putting your months of training to poor use and not set a fast first 100-mile time. So that's how it went for me.
Emma, did you have a goal of like what you wanted to finish your first 100 in?
Not really. I just wanted to finish. I was hoping to finish in under 24 hours, and it took me 25 hours and 3 minutes. So, yeah, it was the whole time, like the years leading up to this, Max and I would always talk about this idea, and I think preparing for it, we were excited to run together. And we had a ton of fun the first 50 miles together. But I think Max had a friend run with us, and I'm friends with him too, from mile 30 to about 42. And I think that kept him going. And then after that, we walked together for about 8 miles. So we had a long amount of time to discuss, like, should I go ahead? Should I leave him? And
it was really me trying to convince her that she should leave me and go fast, because she could, and not let me drag her down.
Yeah, I think what helped me like leave Max behind, even though he was in pain, was that like if he didn't make it, I would have left him eventually anyways.
Yeah.
So the fact that he didn't finish, like if I had stayed with him to that point, I would have hopefully kept going. Because our whole agreement was kind of like we'll stick together, and if someone physically can't go on, then whoever can should finish. But Max is always better at me in sports and everything. So we didn't know what was going to happen that day, how
And
either of us would handle it.
yeah.
And I kind of thought, okay, Max didn't train, but he's fast. He's a guy. He's in shape. I did train, but I'm slower than him. Maybe we'll be equal, but I finished and he didn't. So.
Well, 25 hours for a first 100 is really impressive. That's very good. Not many people can do that. So congratulations.
Thanks.
It's not 24 though, but I guess it was okay.
Yeah, it makes Max said the pavement hurt him. That's kind of his undoing. I think that's kind of what slowed me down too in the end, because I had huge blisters on the soles of my feet. It's like the last like 15 miles or so. Well, yeah, 15. I couldn't run. It's like it kind of felt like someone played tic-tac-toe on my feet with a razor blade, like every step. So I was hobbling at the end.
Yeah, it was brutal repetition. Like every single step was the same. It was definitely rough.
So you stopped at 73. Did you get to drive? So your crew must have split up.
Yeah, that stressed our crew out. But it worked out just fine. And I think a few extra friends came out.
Yeah.
Actually, the wife of Max's friend who dropped us off in the morning, his wife Jess, I had never met. She met me at, I think it was 1 a.m. No, maybe 2 a.m.
Yeah.
In this teeny town close to the Washington border, and that's where the trail ended. And so we have this kind of through farmland almost, and old back roads that are not roads anymore. She did that last section with me and stayed with me. I think it was about 7 hours to finish that.
And then she had to go to work
through the dark. Yeah.
Jess is a champ. The boatmans were both super helpful. Good friends, good crew.
And our parents too. I think
yeah,
our mom
everybody.
was awake as long as it took me to finish.
Aww. Are you the only kids in the family, or is there more?
Yep,
just us.
And you guys, I think it's super cool that you're brother and sister and wanted to do this together and made plans, and Max is like, keep on going, and Emma is like worried about Max. Like, have you guys always been this that close of a relationship as brother sister? Did you guys fight when you were younger?
Say we've always been close. We've always been competitive with each other too. I think, yeah, we've always had a good relationship, and we've always both at least shared some similar interests and values to a degree. Like Emma's much more into like running, and she's really into sailing, and like I'm more into like climbing and whatnot and skiing, but like we're both in it for the same reasons, and running is like our biggest shared thing. So it's always been fun doing stuff together.
Yeah, and we'll go backpacking and camping together in the summers too. And yeah, I waited because I was curious what Max was going to say to that question. I agree. Yeah, we haven't fought since we were little kids, just like every little kids do, I think. I'm really happy that we get along, and I think we will forever, hopefully. And like we can go do runs together, or we've talked about trying to find some other type of adventure race that we could meet up somewhere
next,
in the country.
Perhaps we'll have to, like, I'll drag you up a mountain, do something that I'm good at and train at.
Yeah, let's
Walk
do it.
rolls.
Yeah, I think right here you should decide. What's the next big
I've been
adventure?
asking him to take me up a mountain. I
Sure.
want to go. But like he was saying, like that is harder to just go do without some experience. So you'd have to start small with that.
Max, where would you start somebody? Like, what mountain would you like? What would be a good mountain to take Emma up for her first one? That would be
Probably
challenging enough that maybe you're like scared you won't finish, but is passable.
probably Rainier as fast as possible with my primary partner, just to really put a hurting on her. I think that would be best. Like, notch that cockiness down a little bit, regain the sibling crown. But I think like Adams and Mount St. Helens are both like pretty calm. There's like no crevasses really. They're safe, low key mountains. A good place to get your feet wet.
That sounds great. That's really cool. So what did your finish line look like when, what were you feeling? Do you remember when you were, let's say like 10 miles away? What were you thinking?
This is going to take a long time. and I was still kind of trying, like I was still hoping I might finish in under 24, but as I was doing the math, it's like, no, this isn't going to happen. So I was just trying to move as fast as possible, which was not very fast. And then the finish, my parents were there at the state line, but I knew I had to keep going. So and at this point I've been awake for a day and I'm tired and I was trying not to be cranky. So hopefully I wasn't too bad, but I just wanted to like keep moving and get it done. And I was also looking at, we use Max's Garmin InReach and Strava, and they didn't match. The mileage didn't, because the InReach said I had already gone over 100 miles, but I knew that wasn't possible. So then I was like, okay, how much do I have to go? And that wasn't really mapped out. Like I roughly knew I'd be out and back on this dirt path, but so yeah, just power walked that. So my parents and Jess did that last few miles with me, and then just kind of collapsed and fell asleep in the car on the drive home. It was relatively anticlimactic because it was just a small group, but the sun was coming up and it was a nice day and it was over, so it was good.
Did you think that you wanted to do something like that again?
I think so. Yeah, I think as much as we're complaining about the pavement right now, and think I'd be curious how much a different type of run would compare. Because if you trade out the flat, easy, but repetitive pavement for trails, like then you've got more hills to go up and you got roots and rocks to watch out for. So I think that would have its own challenges, and I'd be curious how I could handle that and if I'd be faster or slower.
What do you think you both learned on that run that you like? Was there anything that you're like, oh, I could have done better if I had done this, or if I did this again, I'd like to do that?
I don't know.
I don't think anything in particular. I think I got what I expected. Yeah. Like I knew going into it that if I wanted to be successful, I should probably train for it. But I don't think I'll ever train to run 100 miles. Like that just doesn't fit my other goals. But
Well,
I don't think there was no real surprises.
to me, it sounds like your everyday life, though, is like training. You're moving quickly along a mountain, carrying stuff like that. That does sound like training to me.
And do you want to mention what your job is, Max?
I work as a firefighter.
Oh.
So, and I do train. Like I work out like 6 days a week, and usually like double days, 4 days a week. Like I definitely train, but just not for running. And it just doesn't suit me. But I think the Panhandle run was, I think, as expected.
It was fun. I think the most important part was we had fun. At least, yeah, I did. I don't know how much after I left Max. I don't know how much fun you had, but
it was like a little heavy-hearted to have to quit. But I could see it was really the correct choice at a certain point. But other than not finishing, I had a good time.
What about your parents? What do they think about you guys doing stuff like this? Are they adventure
They-
people?
They think we're crazy,
They think we're really weird, and they don't know what they did to us. However,
but
they're always acting like, oh, how do we raise kids like this? It's like, because you raised us telling us stories about you guys, and you raised us outside, and it's definitely their fault. They've both traveled extensively, and they've both climbed a lot, and definitely athletes, and have always supported us like significantly in everything. So
and I think it's hard, I think, for people to comprehend running more than a marathon. But if any non-runners can understand that, I feel like our parents do. Just they were out there with us that day, and like they hear us talk about it, they see what we go through, so they think we're crazy. But of all of my friends and people I know who don't run those distances, I feel like they understand it better than anyone else.
Yeah, well, it's just blows my mind away that you guys are so close and do such exciting, cool stuff. So this happened in September, and
Mhm.
so that like Grizz race, was that in October then, right after you finished
Yeah.
this?
That was on October 10th, and out in Montana on the edge of Glacier National Park. And so I was like, well, I trained up for 150, should be pretty doable. So I kind of just recovered from the 100. I think I did one 20-mile run maybe, and then pretty much tapered down for the 50. And that was a lot of fun. My parents met me out there because I had to fly out there from Michigan. And then one of my best friends from college, were friends because we ran together every morning. She did it, another friend of ours from college. And then Dr. Steele, one of my professors, he's the reason any of us went out there. And so he ran it. It was his 19th year finishing. And yeah, so La Grizz was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah, well, congratulations on finishing that.
Mhm.
You,
Thanks.
you tell us a little bit about that course?
Yeah, that one, it starts in Polebridge, which is I think like the last little town before you can enter the park on that side of Glacier, and it goes out. It's on a gravel road. It goes out for 5 miles ish, or maybe 10. I don't actually remember, but it goes out and back. You kind of you come near Polebridge again, and then go out and back the other direction, and it was beautiful because there was a few trees with yellow leaves and the rest is green pine. You can see the mountains. It was sunny in the morning, and then it did rain a little bit in the afternoon. And that course, it's again not a real trail ultra, but so because it is on a gravel road most of the way, but there's a little more hills on that than there was across the Panhandle.
Did
And I
that
liked it. Oh, sorry, I was just say out and back those 2 times. It was fun because you got to see people more too. So I like that.
Yeah, did you feel like when you got done with the 50 that you could do another 50 on that for 100, and maybe that would have been easier than pavement?
Maybe, yeah, yeah. I think interestingly, after the 100, my muscles weren't sore. Like my feet hurt. The blisters made it hard to stand, but my muscles weren't really sore. But I had taken it pretty slow. And then after the 50, I tried to give it all. Like I tried to run as fast as I could. And so I was more sore the next day, I think, after the 50. But I could walk easier because I didn't have blisters.
Were you happy with your finish time for the 50?
Yeah, yeah, I was. I think it was 8 hours and 39 minutes.
That's really
So
good.
Wow.
it was much less than half of the 100. I was happy.
Yeah, I think you could easily break 24 hours and 100.
That's I feel like that's what's gonna make me do it again, just to see what's possible.
Do you have something in mind of what you'd like to do next for your...
No, I don't know. And I also probably won't do it next year. I think I'll give myself a little break I'm currently registered for Ironman Coeur d'Alene. So hopefully I have the time to train, and I kind of like doing a triathlon and a run like every other year.
So you'll work on like cycling and swimming, and then
Yeah.
marathon distance running for next year.
That's the plan right now, at least.
Yeah, I think that's really good to mix it up between the two and try everything. And then Max, I know that you like mountain bike as well, and that you cycled on the Colorado Trail.
Yeah, I did. So I did that. I actually left for that trip the same day of La Grizz. Otherwise, I might have joined. And the Colorado Trail is like a pretty classic mountain bike, like individual time trial race, and a really neat trail that covers a lot of Colorado from Denver to Durango, over 540 miles. It's like I think like 85,000 feet of vert. And so I did that, and I ended up breaking both my body and my mind, and especially my bike. So I was hoping to get from Denver to Durango, and I ended up dropping out near, I think it was Monarch Pass, after it was about 350 miles in 6 days, and the full length is 550. So I scratched again on something, but that was pretty fun and definitely challenging. It's the wrong time of year to do it, but I had another event that got canceled, so it was a pretty last minute, like 2 weeks out, I made the change to go ride Colorado instead, and it was a good challenge for sure. Doing something that long and solo and in the cold and dark was pretty fun. It definitely was a good challenge.
So I didn't know you were trying to do it solo. And I'm also curious, before I forget, like in the middle of the Colorado Trail, it goes two different directions, like, right? Isn't there like a little thing that goes, like you take the Colorado Trail and then there's two ways you can go?
There's quite a few spots where you could say there's two ways to go, and most of those are going through like wilderness areas. So there's the footway that's usually more direct, or sometimes it's like more scenic, or for whatever reason that they're different though, only because bikes aren't allowed. So there's a bunch of workarounds for bikes that add mileage.
Okay.
And then part of that trail is also part of the Continental Divide Trail.
Yeah, I can't even imagine like on that trail. I've seen some of it. Doing a bike on there. Is it marked? Like, how do you find your way through that? How do you know to be on the bike trail compared to the foot trail?
It's really, there's good like trail markers on trees every now and again. So if you haven't seen one of those in a long time, you better check your map. But I had a paper map, I had a cue sheet that had like turn-by-turn directions, and then I used a GPS, and also more than anything, I used Guthook on my phone, which is a really popular app for trails like that. And it's super easy. It makes navigation a breeze, and it's got like user-generated comments. So people will like mark where there's good streams to get water, and then they'll like update, and people will add comments like, I was here on this day and the flow is good. And Guthook is definitely super handy on stuff like that.
And then how do you keep your phone charged enough so that you can do it for 7-8 days?
Yeah, that was definitely a challenge of the trip, like among other things. But I had two external batteries that I used, and at one point I was using headlights for my bike that were really bright, and they were really nice because I was riding like before sunrise and after sunset. Like a lot of my riding was in the dark, and mountain biking, especially descending in the dark, is not fun. But like eventually I just stopped using those lights because I couldn't afford to burn the power. Like keeping my phone and my GPS charged was more important. But I just had those batteries, and then anytime I found a town, I would typically like immediately plug stuff in while I went and got food and like some resupply.
So, like you must have had a big backpack, like you were sleeping on the side of the trail. No, you didn't.
No, I didn't have much. I had very little. I had a frame bag on my bike, and then a seat bag off the back, and then I had a little top tube bag, and then bottle bags on either side, right up against the handlebars. So and then I had a really small, like a 10-liter backpack that was mostly just my water. And I brought as little as possible. Like, I don't know exactly what my weight was, but I'm sure it was under 20 pounds. I was as light as I could be, and like no tent, no sleeping pad. I've got like a half sleeping bag, because like you already need to wear a jacket, so like you bring your jacket and then this sleeping bag that only covers your feet and you're up to your waist to save on weight. It was pretty sparse. And then it's like, try to sleep cold. That way, if you get too cold to sleep, then you should go ride your bike. And if you're exhausted enough to sleep, then maybe you're allowed to sleep.
That's interesting. You also talked about it wasn't the ideal time of the year to do it. When I forgot. You might have said when it was.
That was in October.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because it was the same time you were at
Yeah.
the Grizz.
And it's typically, I think the most popular time to ride it is in July. And in July, there's a mass start, and it's an unofficial race, but like they record results and whatnot. And you can record results at any point in the year, but that July mass start is kind of when that's the time to do it. And so you always are going to deal with weather, but I probably dealt with a little more cold and a little more snow than most riders do.
What was the weather like?
There's a lot of it, you're pretty high elevation. I think the high point of the trail is like 13,300 feet. And there's a lot of like exposed ridge riding and whatnot. So it's always windy there, like no matter what time of the year. And then, I don't know, I think my coldest night was like, I don't know, something under 20, I think. I definitely had stuff freeze on me. So I had to like sleep with stuff in my bag.
Or by your feet, that is.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I ended up on one of my last days on the trail, I wrecked my bike and I smoked my rear derailleur. And I had a spare rear derailleur hanger and everything, but I ended up like breaking it beyond repair. So I just pulled off my derailleur and then shortened my chain. And I ended up riding like 2 days on a like untensioned single speed, which is really not ideal. So that was a big contributing factor to the scratch on that.
So I have a couple questions. Like, well, one from that, like, did you have a plan? Like, I imagine you're going pretty far between towns and where maybe somebody could come pick you up if you're in trouble. What was your plan? You're doing this by yourself. Like, if you got in trouble someplace.
Figure it out. That's the plan. Like, I don't know, walk out if you have to, ride out if you can.
Yeah, and then also, like, is it possible to ride it? Like, how far is it between towns where you can refuel? I mean, obviously there must be enough streams to get water.
Yeah, water was really easy to do even that late in the year. And it's probably like every other day you hit a town. And I covered 350 miles of it in 6 days. But like, I think the record on I think it's 3 days and like 23 hours. And like, that guy's a machine, like very impressive cyclist. But so the fast people, like, it's a different experience for them. Like, they don't sleep but like at most 3 hours at a time, and they go really, really, really far in between resupplies. But like, time wise, they're hitting towns way more often than I am, just because they go so stinking fast that they cover those distances. But for me, it was a town like probably every other day.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then you're like resupplying out of gas stations usually. Like rolling into a town at like 11:30, like you're not gonna like hang out and wait so you can buy good food. So like I ate like a ton of peanut M&Ms, and like I probably won't eat any of those for quite a while now. But like calorie per ounce, they're pretty solid. And they're good even when they're frozen. Because like Snickers bars are like half the price of a gas station Cliff Bar and more calories. But if you leave it in your bike overnight, they're really, really hard to eat for breakfast. Get pretty hard.
Is that where Emma was saying you slept with stuff by your feet? Like you could put the Snicker bar
Yeah,
by your feet?
keep stuff warm. Yeah.
Do you cycle, Emma?
Not really. I mean, I've done other triathlons. I did an Ironman in 2018, I think. Yeah, 2018. So I've done more road biking, but I don't get out on trails like Max. I love to run. I like running more. So if I had to pick, I would be running.
Well, Dr. Steele is watching, and he wants to know if Emma has ever seen any gnomes during a run.
Oh boy.
Actually, I think when I was pacing him on his 100, there were actually gnomes. We were not hallucinating, although I think
Yeah.
he thought he was.
Yeah, we heard that story about the gnomes and the mushrooms. Yep.
Yes.
So the pacer saw the same hallucination of gnomes. What did they have at the aid stations?
Yeah.
Right.
Is that how the mushrooms play in?
Oh, that's really cool. So let's see. Oh, Adventure Club. Yeah, we heard
Yeah, we
about
need to talk
Adventure
about
Club
Adventure
too.
Club.
Well, I mean, you guys are definitely like the most adventurous people I've talked to for a while. Like, got me inspired. So tell me about
I
Adventure
find that
Club.
hard to believe. I feel like I've scrolled through who else has been on the podcast. I don't know if I can believe that.
Yeah, I don't know how we compare to them, but
Yeah.
no, it's funny because I feel like Max is maybe slightly above average in Idaho, like slightly more adventurous than some people. But like the average person in Coeur d'Alene gets outside a fair amount, it seems like. But coming to the Midwest, I don't think I have any friends from here that would go camping if I asked them to. Like I don't, and I think part of that I need to make more friends who go camping. Like that's my problem, part of it. But the average people I run into aren't as interested in that. So I feel like,
well, you live in a city.
Yeah, and it's flat and like there's not a ton of great places to go, so it's not convenient. So like it's more of an effort. But it's funny because I went to college in Michigan as well, and I feel like people think I'm so adventurous, which I think is a compliment. Like I'll take it. But compared to back home, I'm average. But I missed the camping and the hiking and trail running and everything from home. And so when I was in college at Hillsdale, I think my sophomore year, I started an outdoor adventure club. And our first year, we took 35 kids camping to Sleeping Bear Dunes, which is on Lake Michigan on the south or the western side of the state. And then the next year, we took 55 people. So that kept growing, and I love that because people got excited about being outside and had fun doing it. We also did some spring break, multiple night backpacking trips. One year I hosted an ultra running panel, which is how I met Loretta, and Dr. Steele was on that panel, and another ultra runner from Hillsdale who's won run Woodstock, Mike Nicola. And so that I think helped get some people at Hillsdale interested in running. And we did a few different events, and the leadership that's taken it over, and now that I'm gone, like they're running it. They just hosted a half marathon, 10K, 5K, 1 mile race, and they had over 400 people out running.
That's cool.
So
That's
So that was
incredible.
for the college. It's a adventure club in
Yep.
the college.
Yep, it's within the college, and I got grant money from our student federation to buy tents and stoves, and I think there's kind of an emphasis on camping and running, but it's open to anything, and it was really fun because it was super casual, low key. You want to get outside? Give us your idea. Let's do it. And it was in an academic environment. I think it was a nice break for people and for me.
I think that's super impressive. That's cool.
That sounds really fun. And Emma, I will go camping with you anytime. Just ask.
Okay.
I love camping.
Good.
So I'm curious, where would you one place to go camping in Michigan? Have you been all around Michigan? And I think Michigan's got a lot of absolutely gorgeous areas. Where would you recommend as do some camping and do some hiking?
Yeah, I wish I think the farther north you go in Michigan, the better it gets. And I'm about as far south and east you can get in Detroit. So I think Lake Michigan is beautiful. If you want to have like an actual campground, Sleeping Bear Dunes is great. And that whole like Leelanau Peninsula, Traverse City area. And then I've also been up into the UP, and it's almost like a whole different state. It's gorgeous up there on the Lake Superior side. So Pictured Rocks, there's lots of trails there in part of the national park system. I think I would recommend that.
Good. And then Max, how about by you? Where would you, if someone's coming out to visit your area, where do you recommend they go?
Not my favorite spots.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah, your favorite spots actually.
I'd say don't go there. I don't know. I don't think I've been to a campground in like a couple years. I typically try to go on a really long, fast hike and then sleep. So I usually just end up wherever I am when it gets dark on a long hike. Those are my favorite spots. Like if you want to go car camp, Priest Lake is a super popular spot here in North Idaho. But also Idaho has the 4th most public land and the 2nd most roadless land of any state. So there's no shortage of spots. There's definitely loads of good places to go.
And Emma, are you planning on staying in Michigan? Or maybe that's not a question I should ask on.
No, you can ask. I think for now, yeah, definitely, because I have a good job that I like here, and that's ultimately, I think that's the biggest factor where I live right now in my life. But I hope someday to get back west. I don't know if it would be Coeur d'Alene, but somewhere in Idaho, Montana, Utah, probably somewhere back there. Hopefully I make it there eventually. I miss the mountains, but I'm glad I live right by a lake. I keep my paddleboard in my garage, and I can carry it and be in the lake within 10 minutes walking there. So as long as I have some water, and if I had mountains, it would be even better.
Yeah, Michigan's gorgeous. I've worked in Michigan for a while, and it's really, I like Detroit area.
Yeah, if I have to be in a city, I actually think Detroit's a great place to be.
Yeah, I agree. So Crystal just switched spots. We just lost Crystal's sound.
Ruin everything up tonight. I'm back.
That's okay.
It just kicked me out randomly. Sometimes that happens.
Did you guys have any we have the Ornery Mule Stubborn 5 too, but was there anything else that you guys wanted to share that we didn't go over?
I don't think so. I feel like we covered a lot of our recent adventures.
Yeah, you have us all inspired. You've definitely both done some things I haven't done. I've always wanted to just like run across the state. I think that's really cool. And I love that you guys chose that adventure. And that trail sounds pretty good to me. Like a nice, flat, fast course.
Yeah. And it would definitely be like just pure type 1 fun doing it on a bike.
Mm-hmm.
Like that'd be pretty low key. That'd be a good time.
Yeah, I'd probably opt for riding my bike across the state and not run. Although if it
Yeah.
was Rhode Island, I'd probably run across because it's not very big.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I wonder, besides the one guy who we found his blog, who ran it in 2010, I really wonder if anyone else has ever done that. Like, probably, but
Yeah.
but maybe not. I don't know. There might be 3 of us. There might be more.
Yeah, was it
It's-
you actually could have made it an established route and you could have possibly got an FKT. We had Buzz Burrell on a while back, and that might have been something you could have done.
Yeah,
I think the other guy did it faster.
yeah, I was slower than him.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We thought about it, but
FKTs are pretty neat though. There's a lot of neat stuff there.
Yeah, Buzz was saying there was a good one. I tried to volunteer Crystal for it up in Michigan. That might be something for you to do, Emma.
Yeah, Emma can do it. Okay, I just looked up how far across Idaho is from east to west, and it's 37 miles. I got this.
Yeah.
yeah, we went the long way.
It might be easier to do it in 93 on the trail though. I
Right.
would imagine that's perhaps a mountainous route.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Probably take
Probably.
the interstate. Interstate shoulder might be the easiest.
There you go.
Not the most fun though.
I have to put a sign on my back, not hitchhiking.
Don't
Leave
push
me
out.
alone. I'm running.
Well,
Well, I
that's
have to
good.
say, I can't even get my gaggle of siblings to text me back, and you guys are super close, so I'm super jealous. You guys are awesome. I've had a lot of fun talking to you. We're gonna do the stubborn 5 now, so we both have to answer these questions. Are you ready?
Ready.
All right. One is share one thing about you that people may not know.
Okay, for me, I think it doesn't come up in conversation that often, but I restored a 1955 Nash Metropolitan.
Yay.
I like classic cars.
So cool.
Everyone will know if I share it on a podcast, I guess. I'll say this because I think it's interesting and it's more sibling similarities. But I live on a boat, and I think Emma will soon also be living on a boat. But yeah,
That's
Except
cool. That's so cool.
So, like, you just have, is it a houseboat? Like,
it's a home boat.
okay.
It's in no way a house, but it's home to me.
Okay.
It's actually it's quite odd. That's perhaps why I don't tell people about it. But I live in a formerly sunken 1982 39-foot yacht, and it is in the woods.
Oh, so you're
That is
in a boat, but you're not in
incredible.
the water?
Yeah. So I didn't
That
set out to do
is
that. I
freaking
set out
cool. Oh my
I
gosh.
set out to like get a yurt or build a cabin, and kind of one thing led to another, and a free boat fell into my lap, and it's a pretty good home for me. And so I'm 100% off grid. I don't have service out there. I don't have water. I don't have heat. I don't have really anything. No electricity. And then Emma is about to buy a sailboat and move on to that.
Oh my gosh. We keep
That
finding new
contributes to
cool
our
stuff.
parents. Our
Okay.
parents are so proud of us. Electrically homeless children.
they don't like this.
Yeah.
Well,
That's awesome.
yeah, when Dr. Steele was on, he said something about waking up every day and finding something, interesting to do. Like, man, you guys both. Holy cow. That is so exciting. It sounds, like what an adventure to live on a boat.
It's good training.
Yeah.
It's really good training. I feel like I do chores every morning, and I wake up super, super cold every morning. It's great training.
And then Emma, you
That's
sail
awesome.
as well.
Yeah, that's actually, honestly, I love it. And this summer, I think it's tied with running. I love it that much. Um, so Detroit is actually a huge hub for sailboat racing. Never stepped foot on a sailboat in my life until last summer when I moved here. And I was really lucky. I got on a crew. I sail on a J120, which is a 40-foot sailboat. And so we race all summer long. And I like it so much. And I'm still working remotely right now for my job. Like, perfect time to buy a sailboat and live on it. So I haven't bought the boat yet, but my lease is, I'm like, I have to be out of my house by the end of December. So I'm going to Florida in January, boat or not. And hopefully I own a boat before I go down there. I think it will all work out. And so my plan is just to live on a sailboat, probably in a marina, so I have power because I still have to work, but then I can go sailing every evening and on the weekends and be transient, like make my way along the coast. I can stay somewhere for a month or a week and then keep going. So I'm planning on doing that for the winter.
That's awesome. Do you have a
That's
name
incredible.
for your boat?
I love it.
No name yet. I don't know what I would name it.
Well, I want to know when you get it.
Okay.
What part of Florida are you going? Like, what side? Are you going to stay along the East Coast?
It kind of depends on where the boat is. Right now, the boat I'm hoping works out is in St. Petersburg. So I'd probably
Okay.
start on the Gulf side, and I don't know how far I'd make it. I think as long as it's warm and the water's pretty, I don't have too much of a preference.
Hey, let me know if you sail down to Naples because my parents live there over the winter and we go visit them quite often. So
Okay.
we were just there last week and then we're going to go back in February.
Okay, I'll definitely let you know. Yeah.
Woo! I'll be like, look, there goes Emma on her sailboat.
Yeah, we could go for a sail.
That'd be awesome. That's awesome. All right, next question is, I guess Emma, you might have already answered this, but what is something that you are looking forward to?
Definitely that. I think also, like, I love hosting people, like for dinner or parties with friends. So I'm looking forward to hosting big parties again when people are not afraid of being in the same room with strangers.
And I'm looking forward to the spring climbing season for sure. I've also got a Grand Canyon rim to rim to rim planned with like a big group of my friends. So I'm pretty stoked for that coming up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Obviously, you guys have tons of hobbies, but if you could pick your favorite hobby, what would it be?
Like I kind of said, I think besides running, it'd probably be sailing.
Sailing. Okay.
Definitely climbing.
Climbing. I guess I could have answered those for you.
Yeah.
All right. Do you both have anyone that you look up to or an influence in your life?
I think for running, definitely Dr. Steele, who I've mentioned and I guess was on the podcast just before me. I think if not for his influence, I don't know if I would have tried something longer than a marathon. So that's been a huge influence on my running.
I would say, I don't know, that's a tough question. Mark Twight is like an American climber who wrote a lot of books, and I've read everything he's written. I think he's pretty influential. I will add that I've only met Dr. Steele one time, and I don't personally know him, but I've heard lots of Dr. Steele stories. And from that, I think both Emma and I, getting to know Dr. Steele, have adopted his mantra, RFM, Relentless Forward Motion. And I've got it. It's on my mountain bike handlebars, and it's on my ice axe. But so he's been influential enough in Emma's life that it has rubbed into my life as well.
That's so cool. Way to go, Dr. Steele. All right, the last question is, what is your favorite treat for a job well done? And it can literally be anything, like a beer, pizza, candy, whatever.
Any like bread item, I feel like that covers pizza and just
Yep.
bread, toast,
Yep.
anything.
That covers a lot of bases. Good answer.
Covers grilled cheese and.
Yes, that's what I had for dinner.
I don't really feel like I reward myself with treats. I guess I don't know. I like peanut M&Ms. I eat a lot of those.
Yeah, I heard someone told me you ate a lot of those once.
Yeah.
That's actually a really healthy thing, is probably not to reward yourself with treats. That's
Yeah, I don't know. A clink of ski poles at the base
There
of
you
something.
go.
That's my favorite treat.
That's a good treat. Good answer.
well, that's good.
I
Well,
love peanut M&Ms.
They're-
Just had to throw
yeah.
that out there.
Nutritionally sound.
yeah, my son, he when he's at our house, he's like, and as a race director, we have like a whole bunch of race directing type food, like chicken soup, and we got like big containers of peanut M&Ms pretty much at all times of the year. 'Cause
That's
we got
awesome.
10 races. He goes, it's really nice that you're a race director. We always got peanut M&Ms
That's funny.
and chicken soup.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Well, if you hear a knock on your door tomorrow, it's me. Just set the M&Ms out on the stoop.
Well, good. Well, thank you guys so much. I mean, it was truly a huge pleasure to have you on the show, and I love your guys' relationship and everything you do.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much. Pretty cool to
this
be
was
here.
fun.
I'm going to text my siblings tomorrow and be like, look, guys, I interviewed these siblings, and they're pretty close, and they're pretty awesome. So can you just please go for a run with me? Text me back. Say hi.
Yeah, my brother, I texted him like Happy Thanksgiving, and I got a reply like yesterday. So I was like, yeah. It wasn't the next month. Or maybe it was. No, it wasn't.
Yeah, he made it by a day.
You made it by a day. That's funny. Yeah, thank you guys for being on with us. It was really awesome talking to you, and you guys are so adventurous and amazing, and hopefully people listening will take up a new sport, It actually made me want to get back into mountain biking. I haven't done that in years. So
Yeah.
it's so
Good
much
cross
fun.
training.
Oh my gosh, I had
Yeah.
so much fun when I was doing it. But yeah, and sailing,
a-
I like being out on boats, but I've never done a sailboat before. I have done, what's it called, a Hobie cat, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
it's
fun.
like, don't be afraid to try something new. Like
Yeah.
that was sailing. Like it sounds fun, but like I don't know what I'm doing. But I think no matter what sport you're in, there's people who love it and they want to share that with you, and so they'll show you the ropes.
And on that note too, I think one of the things that tipped us over the edge on trying that panhandle run this year was a Warren Miller quote that if you don't do it this year, you'll just be 1 year older when you do. Because we kind of decided
Exactly.
it's like there's never going to be a year where it's like, oh yeah, this is the perfect time to do it. But eventually you just have to decide, like, just go do it. Like, don't wait for
Absolutely.
something to happen. Like, make something happen.
Yep, I totally agree.
Yeah, that's great. I love the way you guys live your life. That's really great.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I want to thank my son Royal over here for doing all the technical stuff, Coach Loretta for setting everything up, and and for Max and Emma for coming on the show. Thank you so much, and Crystal, the co-host. Anything else for you, Crystal?
Just thank you so much, Max and Emma. We truly appreciate you coming on and talking to us. And thank you to everyone that's listening. And thank you to everyone just for supporting our cute little podcast. And make sure that you leave us reviews on iTunes and come check out our Patreon. We're doing the best we can. I can't wait till we can podcast in person because my Zoom keeps failing me.
Yeah, we used to all podcast here. This is the studio,
Mhm.
and we would get together, but we still, we wouldn't have been able to have you unless you guys wanted to travel to Crystal Lake, which you'd be welcome to.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is a good thing about doing the Zoom, is that we can interview people from all over, which has been pretty amazing. I was actually talking to someone last night about that. They asked, what do you like better? Do you like podcasting in person, or do you like podcasting on the Zoom? And I said, well, I like both, for different reasons. I like being with people. I like seeing people face to face. I like giving hugs. I like conversing. But with the Zoom, you can talk to literally anyone from, all over the world. So that's been really cool to get to talk to people from different areas.
Yeah, and then I also wanted to mention one thing about our Patreon page is we are giving out coupon codes every once in a while on there. We have some behind the scenes stuff that people can go listen. Some of it is for patrons only. Some of it I let everybody hear, like when we had Courtney Walter on. I felt like everybody needs to hear the behind the scenes stuff. So we have that on. So even if you don't join us Patreon, take a look and see what we got going on over there. But thank you, everyone, for listening, and really great show. And we'll see you, I think, tomorrow night, maybe. Bye.
Bye.